Alright, episode 3. This one's a bit of a detour from basically the main course, since I wanted to get straight into making a character sheet for one of the characters so I could have that done and could move on, but I realized, man, I don't really know how to make the faces, and I don't even really know the character I want to make yet. Like, I've drawn him a bunch of times in the past, but it has been so long since I drew him that I didn't even know who the character was anymore. So, thankfully, as a little bit of a cheat, I am basing the first, main characters, or rather, the main characters of the story on real people I know, so I can use real-life references, photos, and whatever, a mirror in my hand, to make a better representation of the character more easily. But still, I realized I needed to practice making the character, in general. I needed to find out what I wanted him to look like, what will be his expressions. I just needed to get to know him and to be able to draw him without having to constantly check references. I need to know his proportions, or at least I would like to know his proportions by memory, and so on and so on. So I started by studying other people at first, trying to deconstruct their faces through an exercise I've done in the past. It's kind of a weird one. I don't know where I've seen this one, but it's basically you take something you want to study, be it a person, be it structure of something, whatever, and first of all you trace it. As you can see the background, I am tracing the important things of the person's face, and you trace it so you have, first of all, so you have something to fall back on, but also so you start getting the image of what you're drawing into your head. You're already putting effort into what you're doing, so your brain starts remembering things. The more effort you put into something, the more your brain will remember it. And so you start off with a trace, and then you just look at what you drew and maybe even the reference picture, and you try to remember as much about it as you can, because the following step will be trying to recreate that picture or that drawing or whatever, or the person, building, whatever, trying to recreate it from memory. And it's gonna be tough. It takes a lot of time and you're gonna make a lot of mistakes, but this is exactly why this exercise is so good. By doing it from memory, you do certain mistakes, and then once you do them, you let yourself do those mistakes, you go back and fix them. And you'll see later on in the video, possibly even now, I go back and fix what's wrong with the face I drew. And by fixing these things, I try to remember exactly what I fixed and how I fixed it, and then use all that information in making a better version of the drawing next time, again from memory. And it's basically this cycle of do it from memory, see what you did wrong, remember it, and then do it from memory again, trying to avoid the mistakes you did before, but possibly creating new mistakes and learning from that as well. It can be an endless process. You'll see in this specific drawing, I think my second or third head was probably the best, and the others actually had different mistakes on different places that I just couldn't quite get to them. I don't know, don't expect a perfect progress, right? You're not just going to get better and better and better. Sometimes you'll just create something that has more mistakes than what you did before, and that's normal, right? Nobody's perfect, that's just how things are. But it is still an extremely valuable exercise because of just how much effort and thinking you have to put into each drawing, each line you make. You have to think so much about it. It is very exhausting for me, for example. I've done whole entire figure studies like this before, and after a single figure study that took 3 hours, I was exhausted. So it is an amazing exercise, but it is also very exhausting for me. But it is still leagues better than any other exercise I know of. And so I did this with several heads. I'm only showing this one because, to be honest, I was kind of stressed. I don't know. The thing about like doing this series that I didn't realize is I would have to record almost every time I draw, which is kind of weird because I haven't gotten used to being like recorded when I draw, and it can sometimes be a bit stressful knowing that like, oh, everybody, or like there's a camera watching every move I make on the canvas. So I just decided, what the heck, I'll do like the first 2 or 3 heads off camera just like for myself to calm things down, and then I turn the camera back on. But yeah, I did several heads of several people, just focusing on how the noses look, how the lips, for example, look from the side, the like various levels of like the upper lip, then the teeth, then the middle of the mouth, then the lower teeth, and then the chin, how they layer, how just every little detail I could about them, so that when I try to recreate that with my character, I have as much info in my head as I can. And starting here, you can see that I already have a base of the character set up in the corner. That's also what I've done off camera just to relax a bit. But basically, I took the 3 main angles of the character I wanted, straight on, a 3/4 or like 3/4 angle, and a complete side view. They're not the best, of course, but I'm okay with that. With this, I started to construct different heads of the character, just basically drawing it over and over and over until it becomes second nature to me. Which is as I've said, I've done this in the past, but the character looked so different back then, and my art skills were so undeveloped back then that none of the endless redrawings of the same character like carried on, sadly, and so now I have to do that process all over again. But yeah, basically just doing the character over and over and over until I'm familiar with him and can draw him without any reference, maybe even from pure imagination. And mainly right now just figuring the proportions of like the nose and the eyebrows and the hairline, and the nose and the bottom of the chin. And you'll even see that I sort of start changing them as I go, because the character looks better to me that way. And I suppose, like, it's kind of weird, but I took it as just like part of the process and just allowed myself to do it. If the end result is a better looking character to me, then I think that's okay then. And of course, since this is something I'm creating mostly from imagination and a bit of reference, there is a lot of redoing. The first few heads like took an hour each, and they didn't end up looking very good at all. But that's just part of it. Don't get discouraged, just keep on going. Because as I went on, even though those, like, later on I'll do a bunch of straight looking heads, just trying emotions out. Right there, one single head at first took me like 40 minutes, But as I went on, I could do a head in like 20, which is just part of the process of getting to know your character and not having to think that much about every little detail since you kind of already know it. I'm still trying to figure out just how big I want the eyes to be, or like the other features of the head, because I don't really want to go too cartoony, too anime with like the big eyes, but I also kind of want a bit bigger eyes than like normal humans, or maybe just exactly human-sized eyes. I'm not sure yet. I'm just figuring that out. And one thing that's like making, or rather, one thing that is quite difficult for me right now is doing the side of the face, like the different bones and the different bumps in the face. That's what's giving me the most trouble right now, especially the forehead and the part where the eyebrows are, and the little dip into the face with going from the eyebrows to the eyes, and then going from there on over to the chin. Those lines are the hardest for me. Seeing as there is just a lot of drawing and not really that much to talk about, I'll actually slow down the video to not go by that fast, so that people can actually watch the process instead of it just zooming by, because this is like 7 or 8 hours of work, and to put it into like 5 minutes would be incomprehensible to the eye. So I'll just slow things down, play some music in the background, and if you want, you can watch the drawing process. If not, and I have something else to say, I'll put a time code on the screen right now for when I have something else to say next. one problem I'm having right now, for example, is on almost all of my forward-facing heads, the chin is different lengths. Like you can see on some of them it's a lot more pointy, on some of them it's a lot less pointy and a lot more wide. And I think it has to do something with the way I split up the beginning circle using the Loomis method. Maybe it's just like minuscule differences in the lines that make up these like visible changes, but like I'll have to figure it out, because right now it's giving me trouble and I don't really know how to get rid of it and how to like unify my chin size on all drawings. But maybe I'll just be able to adjust it every time, because I'll just get used to it. I'll see how things develop, but like, that's one thing that's giving me a bit of trouble. And also the eyes and nose, well, when I'm drawing them in for the first time, it's always kind of hard for me to guess the exact size of how big they should be or how wide they should be. And you can see that sometimes I finish a face and at the end it turns out to be too wide, so I just grab the entire face and squish it a little. And I mean, that's not the best way to fix it. Probably better would be to go all the way back into like the beginning construction phase and see what the heck is wrong. But I don't know, like for now I suppose that would probably be a better way to deal with it, but this one I guess also works. hereby making the doing the expressions for like several hours now, I decided to just have a bit of fun, because as I said, art should still be fun. And so I just took this expression of the guy on the left picture. I don't know what show he's from, but I love the expression on his face, and just decided to recreate it with the character I'm creating. And this is also one thing I realized about art being fun and stuff, that there are people who can just draw and just keep on drawing all day long and completely love it. But for me, personally, art is more like a exercise, or like a workout, or just like to climb a mountain, because I'm not overly excited to do it, but once I'm finished and I have something in front of me that like I created and I took the time and the effort and the energy to create it, I feel very proud and very happy, and that is what keeps me coming back to art every single time. Though it can be hard to pick up that pencil or tablet pen for the first time and start drawing, but that's just like something that you get used to. It doesn't go away, sadly, but you just get better at just starting drawing and letting the process go on. So it's important to know, or rather to learn, what kind of artist you are, because some people can draw for 12 hours a day. I can draw for like 4 hours max on like a normal day, because I do have days when all I want to do is draw, especially if I'm like doing a big painting or a big work. I can spend the whole day drawing, like doing nothing else, and I'll be satisfied. But especially when learning stuff or studying or just like creating stuff that I'm not very good at, and bettering myself in that takes a lot of energy out of me, and like 2 hours is already a lot for me. So yeah, it's important to figure out what type of artist you are and how much drawing you can actually do comfortably. And as for the expressions I'm choosing here for the character, you can, there are the like 5 base expressions of happy, sad, angry, what else? I don't know, maybe sleepy or something. There's like 5 basic and very prominent emotions humans have. But I decided to include those, of course, but also just think about the character, like, okay, what emotions will he be going through in the comic, or like the first chapter, like what faces will I be drawing a lot. And I'm planning for the character to be, I don't think I want to spoil that or stuff, but I'm planning for the character to have a rough start, basically. So definitely a lot of frowns, maybe a few smiles here and there, definitely a bit sad. So these are the emotions I really want to try out and draw, because they'll be the emotions that the character will be going through the earliest. And here, with all the heads, all the emotions I drew spread across the entire page, I'm thinking pretty good job. Like, yeah, there are variations in the face, and sadly those will go away with time and practice, and of course focus. But all in all, I think I did a pretty good job, pretty big amount of effort. So right now, next thing I'll be doing will be trying these emotions, or different ones, but on a 3/4 view, because I really just want to get to know the character by, as I said, drawing him over and over and over until I know every little bit, every little detail about his face, and later on even the body, the posture, the energy he has, and then of course doing the same thing for the other characters. We'll see how long that takes, because I expected the comic to take a lot of time to like get working properly, that like I wouldn't just be like, well, let's start a comic and just start it. I knew that there would be a lot of pit stops that I would have to take, but I wasn't sure just how many, and it's a lot. But I mean, if it's gonna make a good comic in the end, or gonna help me make a better comic than it would be right now, then I guess it's worth it. So yeah, getting to know the character in the other episode as well, on the 3/4 view, then possibly the side view, or just trying all sorts of different angles for the head, just so I like get familiar with the head shape of the character. And once that is done, we'll get on to drawing the full body and the clothes and stuff like that, which, oh my god, that's gonna be so much work. But once it's done and once I actually know everything, it's gonna be amazing. So yeah, I hope I helped you out in some way by showing you my process, and yeah, I'll be seeing you in the next video. Until then, have a good day.